Hi guys, John here. Welcome back today to another video. Today's video is going to be a little bit of an update of what's been happening and the new addition that I have got. Now, to this bioactive enclosure which you're seeing in front of you right now houses 8 dainty tree frogs, or also known as graceful tree frogs. Now, I purchased these guys from a breeder a few weeks back and they've been establishing in my bioactive tank ever since. I wanted to go over a bit of care requirements for these guys, and then I'll go a little bit more in depth of what I did to their enclosure, and we'll take a look at them because they're pretty cool. Now, as you can see, this enclosure, for those wondering, it's an Exoterra 45 by 45 by 60 centimeter tall. For those guys that are used to the other metric system or Imperials, it's 18 by 18 by 24 inches. So I got the tank and stand and all the gadgets to go with it. Now, what I've done to facilitate green tree frogs in here, these dainty tree frogs, is I have put a misting system on this tank. Now, you can see at the top of the tank, it's got those two, the misting nozzles coming out. That's basically it mists 4 times a day, 15 to 20 seconds intervals. And it just basically keeps not only the frogs hydrated, but the plants hydrated, and keeps everything as humid as it should be for these animals. Now, that misting system is the Mist King 5.0. Now, it's a pretty expensive as well as almost excessive misting system, but because I have quite a few enclosures and intend on getting quite a few more, it's what I needed. Now, if you were purchasing this system and or looking at misting systems, there's very economical and easy systems out there which don't involve as much tubing and plumbing and hosing and stuff like that. Monsoon, by I believe Exoterra does one really good, and there's a fair few other brand ones out there as well. Now, this system here that I've got in front of you, like I said, houses the 8 tree frogs. Now, tree frogs in themselves aren't exactly hard to look after. They're not the most exciting pet, I must say, although come evening time, they do get pretty quirky and it's pretty fun to watch. Throughout the day, they're pretty useless, sorry. They're pretty useless. So I did try and make a enclosure which was visually appealing for the fact that the frogs aren't really out throughout the day and you're basically going to be looking at the tank itself. So what I've got in this tank to, I guess, house them apart from the misting system, I've got the lights, of course, on top. It's an Exoterra, I believe, 6,500 Kelvin LED bulb, and then just an Exoterra, what is it? I think it's a Flora Glow, or it's the Frog Glow one, specifically for green tree frogs. It's the slightly lesser UVB bulb, so it doesn't burn them. Now, other than that, I've just got some live plants in there, of course, the soil and the drainage layer being the bioactive enclosure, as well as the springtails and isopods that are in the enclosure. Now, apart from those individual ones, I've of course got the waterfall in there and the few water bowls, which do add and aid in humidity of this tank. Now, other than that, like I said, green tree frogs aren't exactly hard to look after as long as you've got the down-packed essentials. You've got the humidity. Not necessarily lighting is that important because the green tree frogs, in a sense, are nocturnal, so they don't nearly deprive or need much UVB light as some animals do, or amphibians and reptiles. And the last thing is feeding. Now, green tree frogs, they do need calcium and vitamin supplements in their diet to be fed maybe once every three or 4 days. I supplement feed my green tree frogs every feed, but I do feed them every 3 days, so they're pretty much getting it twice a week, so it's not too crazy on that sense. Now, other than that, it's more or less what you want to get out of your enclosure. I wanted something that the frogs can be visually, I guess, appealing as well as out and about. Now, a few of the frogs are hiding right at the back of the enclosure and the tip, which I'll show you in a moment. Now, that's only because they're small. As they get older, they won't be able to fit under that lip, and they'll be forced to house either on the rocks, the mushroom pads, or the back wall. Now, for those wondering what these are right here, it's actually a Zoo-Med product, which is called mushroom ledges, and they're actually one of the most useful and handy things to have in your enclosure for frogs. It's something that looks very natural. It's like a hard, I'm I'm not entirely sure what material it's made of, like a PVC plastic almost. It's hollow, but extremely well built, sturdy, and looks very natural. And it's a ledge, and you just silicone them to the side of your enclosure or wherever you want them with the included silicone. And it basically gives them a ledge or a perch to sit on, whether it become nighttime, feeding time, or whatever you want, but it doesn't take away from the overall look of the tank. When I say it like that, I've got enclosures to the right and left, the right-hand side of this tank, which are filled with sticks and stuff for snakes. I'll see if I can pivot slowly across. And although it does look very nice, it does tend to take away from the overall look. And being that the frogs aren't going to be as visually appealing as the snakes that would be perched on these sticks, you want to basically give something that a little bit more open space, or at least that's my opinion. So those perches really helped and made it look nice. Now I'll take off the phone from the tripod, and I'll have a look at these little guys cruising around. So move the light out. So we'll let it get a little bit of a closer look at the enclosure. I apologise for the water drops on the glass every night. I have to clean that off because they love to bounce in their water and then walk around. So you can see you've got the Exoterra waterfall in there. That's a medium waterfall, pebble waterfall. Extremely handy for adding humidity, bit of water movement, and it also looks really nice. Got a various supply of plants array. Got some Phoetonias, Chinese evergreen, Peperomias, bromeliads, all Spanish moss, all the big supply. And here we go, some of the frogs to take a look at. So that's probably what you guys have really been waiting for. Take a look at some of the frogs. So you can see they're just perching on the leaves. Really small at this point in time. And even some up here, if it focuses. So 4 up there, and then the other 4 are scattered in and amongst here. So really interesting frogs once you get them established and feeding well. Now there's not a lot of care in terms of, like I said, what you have to do. As long as you're feeding them, I feed them these supplements. So that's, let's see if it focuses, the Exoterra calcium plus vitamin D3, and if I can turn this one to show you, the Exoterra multivitamin. And that's simply just I've got the tub which I feed them out of, which just got the calcium and vitamin D3 powder in there, and the vitamins, and then just a cricket container, which I've got my crickets, which I feed them. So very simple. I personally don't have to do anything other than that. Every 3 days, throw them in, forget about them, and they do look after themselves. This is just a brief video of my setup for the green tree frogs. What I'd really like you guys to do is actually leave a comment of what you'd like me to film next, whether it be a little bit more in depth of handling potentially, or maybe not so much handling, but really in-depth care, or anything that you guys are interested in, because I'm trying to get this channel up and running again, and I'm keen to hear you guys' feedback. So I appreciate all the help and support, and see you guys in the next video.